How's it going, everybody? C-RadTV back here with another video, and of course, it's time for another Detroit Lions 2025 NFL Draft Preview. So in the last draft preview, we took a look at the top Day 3 defensive lineman prospects from rounds 4 through 7 of the 2025 NFL Draft. And in this video, we're going to continue on looking on the defensive side of the ball. And finally, we're going to tackle the linebacker portion of the draft class and take a look at the top Day 3 linebacker prospects for rounds 4 through 7 of the 2025 NFL Draft process. As there are quite a few interesting linebackers to keep an eye on. And of course, we all know the Lions. We all heard about Jahan Campbell, how he could be pretty high on the Lions draft board in the first round at 28. Since he could go at that pick, or if the Lions trade up and go get him. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. I think the chances are pretty low. I think there are better positions to address in the draft than the linebacker. But I wouldn't be against Jahan Campbell in any shape or facet. I don't think it's going to happen. But I do think the Lions could get another linebacker in Day 3 of the draft. I mean, we've seen the Lions get some of their linebacking core in Day 3 of the draft. I mean, we got Derek Barnes in Day 3 of the draft. We also got Malcolm Rodriguez in Day 3. And of course, Jack Campbell was an 18th overall pick. And hell, even Alex Anzalone, he was a 3rd round pick. So yeah, of course you can find talent here if you have the right people calling a shot. So we'll take a look at some of these linebacker prospects and see who the Lions should keep an eye on. So let's go. Starting off with inside linebackers, the first one we're going to go over here, hailing out of South Carolina, standing 6'1", weighing 248 pounds, we got Demetrius Knight Jr. So for Demetrius' strengths, well-built, well-muscled at the linebacker position, good length, heavy hands allows him to work, mass bulk allows him to operate well as a downhill guy at the line of scrimmage, has a powerful upper body, hands, uses them to throw all linemen down with a combination of strength and speed, can reasonably get from one end of the field to the other in a hurry, hits hard, plays hard, intensely marks every facet of the game, forced 3 fumbles in 2024, able to quickly maneuver his body to get deflections and box out tight ends and wide receivers. In terms of weaknesses, though, he never quite developed the best linebacker instincts. His plays involving fakes or multiple options seems to be a guessing game. He's not proficient at identifying where the ball is going to end up. He's too focused trying to read the QB instead of understanding the play. Needs to make quicker decisions about where he's going to avoid getting stuck in the middle. Loses track of his assignment. Doesn't adjust to receivers calling for the ball. Has a hard time recovering in order to play cleanup. And he's an old player. That will be 25. That will be 25 by his first NFL rep in Week 1. In terms of NFL comparisons, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Reggie Leglin. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Demetrius' game. Does a lot of things hard, plays hard. A lot of things to like in the Dan Campbell culture. I think someone in the Lions will definitely be keeping an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Auburn, standing 6 feet tall, weighing 225 pounds, we got Eugene Asante. So for Eugene's strengths, explosive open field mover, closes the ball in a hurry. Straight line speed's rarity for an off-ball linebacker. Violent blitzer will charge through contact. He knocked California's Jaden Auden to his QB from 3 yards away if you will watch some tape there. Quick trigger run defender, can shoot through gaps before blockers can get their hands on him. Core special teamer through his career has accumulated more than 700 snaps in that role. Aggressive in effort, and it'll translate easily to the pro level. In terms of his weaknesses, though, a smaller frame defender that will struggle against NFL size on the interior. He can be knocked around by ball carriers if he doesn't have a running start into the collision. May end up as a pass-down-only defender if he lands with the wrong team. More reliant on slipping around blockers laterally than shedding them at the point of attack. In terms of NFL comparisons, he's being compared to Akeem Davis-Gaither of the Cincinnati Bengals. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Eugene's game. Very good pass rusher. Maybe someone that could be used for passing downs. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Kentucky, standing 6 feet tall, weighing 246 pounds, we got Jamin Dumas Johnson. So for Jamin, he's your prototype strength linebacker, so he's very strong because he's all gas, no brakes, slinting backs, wide receivers with force, absolute thumper in the alley to the ball. In terms of his strengths, brings requisite athleticism for either outside or inside linebacker, so he can play anywhere in the middle. Jack of all trades, doesn't have many glaring issues in board aspects of the game. Very fluid mover, elegantly maneuvers around the field, changes direction smoothly, moves sideline to sideline in his back pedal and with speed and agility. Stocky build, has some muscle on him that results in hard tackles that are tough to escape from. Handles tight ends well, keeps pace with them while maintaining good body control leverage against the opposing receiver. In terms of weaknesses, though, he has a hard time operating through traffic, doesn't move downhill through multiple blocks, generally requires support when he has to defend against zone blockers. Loses some of his instincts nature on play actions, fakes, and was someone who got picked on by a trick play or two. He gets a bit frenzied, lost his own energy. No world-beating trait. He never found his niche at Georgia when he played there. Agility's a little less than average. He had an issue with turning on a dime. It saw him fall a little behind when he faces speed guys. In terms of his NFL comparisons, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Mekhi Kaiser. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Jamin's game. Very strong, can do the heavy work. Definitely, I think, someone to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Georgia, standing 6'2", weighing 223 pounds, we got Smell Molden Jr. So for Smell's strengths, impressively fast in a straight line, can get from side to side with ease, terrific range, doesn't waste time when engaging blockers, fires his hands against tacklers, good tackler, can keep his arms around the ball carriers, stop guys in their tracks. He can be trusted open space, handles coverage duties effectively, he carries down the field at speed receivers, handles tight ends with ease, able to navigate through traffic at both run stopping and pass coverage. In terms of weaknesses, though, he was one of the many Georgia players that got caught with a reckless driving charge. Doesn't handle taking on blocks well, not particularly strong, generally undersized, bulking up, made limited athleticism, relatively one-dimensional, has trouble handling run-stopping duties because he doesn't keep a solid base, able to be handled from a stiff move or a lowered shoulder. Not an efficient pass rusher either, lacking the weight or moves in his bag to handle the duties consistently, and he doesn't have a clean bill of health this year. In terms of NFL comparison, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Marquise Flowers. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game, but a bit undersized. Had some health issues, and of course that traffic charge, because that seems to be a theme now with Georgia players ever since Jalen Carter got busted for having a run-in with the law. And I feel like that history is going to come back to bite him. I think there are better players in this class to keep an eye that Alliance can go with over him, and I don't feel like that's going to be a fit for a culture. Because like Dan Campbell said before, we don't want no turds in here. So I think in terms of Samel, I'm going to say pass. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of USC, standing 5'11", weighing 232 pounds. We got Easton Mascarenas Arnold. So for Easton, strengths, instinctual playmaker, good awareness of offense setup, handles traffic well, enough athleticism to move her out of the way of a tight end or lineman's reach. Even when he's contacted, he generally has the strength to break out. Guy that ends up all over the field, willing and able to make tackles on his own or play cleanup. Very focal leader on the defense, can be seen pointing out players, predicting moves. Had an exceptional game against an impressive Penn State offense if you want some tape there. Extremely well-rounded, can be trusted in any situation. In terms of his weaknesses, negative arm length, size in general. Maybe thickly built, but is too short and squatty to meet most NFL specs. Could stand to clean up the tackling form a little, can go a little harder at the point of first contact. He had trouble disengaging with blockers who are able to keep up with him athletically. Never found a perfect technique in run defense. Still seems a little hesitant moving downfield to take on a back. He prefers to clean up those plays instead of doing the dirty work himself. Average athlete, gets by range-wise more than from his instincts than his athleticism. In terms of NFL comparison, he's been compared to a London Roberts of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Easton's game. A few things to clean up, but I think some way to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Iowa, standing 6 feet tall, weighing 226 pounds, we got Jay Higgins. So for Jay, he's your prototype tackling inside linebacker, so very good at tackling the ball carrier because he plays above his weight class when he finishes and has a wide tackle radius. In terms of strengths, impressive tackler, able to wrap up easily, drag down opposing receivers and running backs. Great instincts as a run stopper, brains to mind shades of Jack Campbell. Moves downhill well, absolutely cracks running backs behind the line of scrimmage. Connects incredibly well, wraps up consistently. Sits in zone coverage, follows the QB's eyes to correctly identify where they need to end up to limit splash plays. Takes quality angles at any given opportunity, not worried about traffic. Embraces contact, clearly loves football. In terms of his weaknesses, though, Doesn't move particularly well downhill. Is stiff and struggles to move from side to side. Range is extremely limited. There should be worries about whether he can be trusted to provide support on the outside or more complicated plays. Limited off the block, doesn't make plays as a pass rusher. Has trouble disengaging from blocks. Tackle pop doesn't translate to strong hands and ability to shed. Ask him to drop in a man can create bad mismatches. Doesn't have a nose to prevent receptions. In terms of NFL comparisons, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Jermaine Carter. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Jay Higgins' game. He likes to play football. A lot of things that actually check boxes off for the culture fit for the Lions. So I think this is definitely somebody the Lions will be keeping an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of UCLA, standing 6'2", weighing 224 pounds, we got Kane Medrano. So for Kane's strengths, he lined up all around the field, handled new responsibilities with ease. Work outside was as impactful as his work inside, which could help him stay on the field professionally. Moves smoothly, knows where the space that needs to be covered are, can backpedal on them with ease and speed. Usually tackles well, he has hands free in a gap. Relatively stout in the pants for a guy carrying limited weight. Hard hitter, led his team in forced fumbles, understands when to put a swipe down to jar the ball loose. Good accelerator, picks up speed well, lets loose at solid angles to make contact. In terms of his weaknesses, though, being a class of 2019 member is unfashionable almost halfway through the next decade. Major issues with tackling crop up where he just cannot finish the rep, and ball carrier slips out from under him. He leads with his shoulder, doesn't wrap up consistently. Worries that his upside as captain will be prominent. Loses balance when he's faced with raw power backs. Not impressive as a block shedder. Much of his pass rush and run defense pressure came on the outside where he could just outrun tackles and face no adversity. He needs to work through his blocks with more power. In terms of NFL comparisons, he's been compared to Tony Fields of the Los Angeles Rams. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Kane's game. A lot of things he needs to clean up and get better at, but I think somebody to keep an eye on for sure on passing downs. And the final inside linebacker we're going to go over in this video before we move on to the outside linebackers. We have hailing out of LSU, standing 6'1", weighing 237 pounds. We got Greg Penn. So for Greg, he's your prototype intangibles inside linebacker because he's a 3-year starter, which isn't an elite athlete, but he wins consistently with instincts, anticipation, and fundamentals, and his future head coach material to be coached up and get the most out of him. In terms of strengths, though, he sets himself up for success early by reading the offense while predicting where he needs to end up. Allows him to compensate for an opponent's superior athleticism. Fast SEC experience will be valued as he understands how to handle a higher level of competition. Good run defender that moves downhill, likes to act as a thumper, delivers hard hits, embraces contact, flows well to match where the run is going, able to attack the ball carrier on the outside, limit breakaways, reads keys well, adjusts the play to the play as he sees it. In terms of weaknesses, though, really slow in all aspects of the position. Doesn't run very fast, lacks true sideline to sideline range, no agility either, very stiff mover, has issues working in the middle of the field, carrying tight ends because they can easily outmaneuver him, gets bent across the field in pass coverage, should not be trusted to play to center, lacks the size or length to handle duties that involves engaging offensive linemen, missing a tier of acceleration, just a lack of Kaiser mover, that's a bit of a tongue twister there. But overall, doesn't quite have a controlled tackling technique, not a consistent safety valve for handling guys at the second level. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Keyshawn Neely. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Greg's game. Does a lot of things right in terms of fundamentals and all the intangibles. Definitely will be a good fit for a lot of coaches. Definitely, I think some of the Lions will be keeping an eye on for sure. Now moving on to outside linebackers. The first one we're going to go over here, hailing out of Ole Miss, standing 6 feet tall, weighing 228 pounds. We got Chris Paul Jr. So for Chris, his strengths, very instinctive, has great movement skills, shoots through holes quickly, takes on running backs with good strength to stop forward movement. Range is impressive, shows signs of being an impressive straight line athlete. Moves side to side well, should have put up impressive numbers in combine testing. Showed impressive coverage instincts at the Shrine Bowl practices. Kept showing up in the right place at the right time. Good impressive build for linebacker position. Stocky frame, a lot of muscle on it. Goes into his read keys well. In terms of weaknesses, though, occasionally takes some bad angles to the tackler. Can lose a little bit of tackling strength through bad alignment with the ball carrier. Too willing to hang back in pass coverage, play cleanup, not take one-on-one assignments. Has a difficult time dropping back in the zone, can't handle dropbacks. Not the best play strength, struggles to disengage from blocks when he plays as a pass rusher. Doesn't have a good anchor in the pass rush, loses balance. Has some lapses in his game where he bites on the fake, goes out of range, that he can't even play true support as a linebacker. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to free agent linebacker Quan Alexander. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Chris's game. I think somebody to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Central Arkansas, standing 6 feet tall, weighing 267 pounds. We got David Walker. So for David's strengths, impressive array of pass rush moves, makes him a treat to watch. Very good at adapting his moveset for the situation, can handle both that highly athletic guys and powerful players. Gotten some especially good reps at the Senior Bowl against Marcus Mabel. Very bulky guy, able to utilize that for a great bull rush. Use his hands constantly, keeps them active throughout the play. Lower body, leg drive, moving forward. It's impressive. Clear that he has spent a lot of time in the weight room during his years at Central Arkansas. Played nearly every snap in the games watched. He's also been listed as a small school stud because he's a dominant FCS level player that could use some technical refinement but wasn't overmatched when he faces high levels of competition. In terms of his weaknesses, though, doesn't meet any of the benchmarks for NFL size. Short and stubby, carrying a little too much weight. Arm length sits at 31 inches, which would render him undraftable for teams who care about measurements, of which there are many. He gets knocked down when he works in run defense, doesn't keep a good anchor, loses balance on initial contact. Has played very limited reps in a high level of competition. Even when transferring up, he didn't garner Power 5 interest. That doesn't mean he can't play, though, but it may speak volumes about how much he is valued by the average team. In terms of his NFL comparisons, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Brooks Reed. Overall, a lot of things to like out of David's game, and even despite playing in a small school here district, he looks like he can still play high levels of competition. I think somebody to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Memphis, standing 5'11", weighing 233 pounds, we got Chandler Martin. So for Chandler, he's your prototype pass defense outside linebacker, so very good defending against the pass because he's one of the most agile defenders in college football, and his range is a weapon opposing coaches that can't scheme around. In terms of his strengths, great tackler, wraps up well, delivered some impressive hits against Florida State if you want to watch some tape there. Especially impressive as a pass rusher this past year, where his hand used to set him apart from other linebackers in this draft class. Really great on the blitz, navigates the engaged O-lineman well to find a path to create pressure. Tackling form translates to a lot of finished sacks. Shows off good agility across the board. Able to quickly change direction on a dime if needed. Great body control, able to become even smaller, skinnier, can get pressures, get past the lineman. In terms of his weaknesses, though, almost annoyingly patient during coverage reps. Doesn't play with any sense of urgency to get to his spots. Needs signals to know where to go. Too willing to let the play develop in front of him. Real blind spot and run defense. Seems less proficient at reading the angles the running back's taking combined with blocking schemes. As a result, could give up more space than necessary when he could secure some tackles for a loss. Bit small in stature, gets a little washed away by some of the bigger tight ends they matched up against. A little undermatched vertically as well. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Malcolm Rodriguez of the Detroit Lions. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Chandler's game. Very good at defending the pass and can rush against the pass too. Maybe someone to keep an eye on for passing downs. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Florida, standing 6'2", weighing 226 pounds, we got Shamar James. So for Shamar's strengths, extremely speedy, can absolutely fly from one end of the field to the other. Carries tight ends well across the middle. Did pretty well in matchups where he had to carry a wide receiver vertically. Makes waves at the line of scrimmage. Good speed. Fires his hands with great intensity. Had some good reps in Senior Bowl practice as a blitzer. Reads his keys well. Finds the hole quickly. Pays close attention to QB. Tracks the ball well around the field. In terms of his weaknesses, though, choppy footwork moving backwards makes for difficult transition between the directions he's moving. Doesn't have a lot of ball production for a guy who drops back into coverage as much as he does. Could stand to be a bit more decisive in his movements. Trigger down on the ball more. Tries to cover up too many assignments. Eventually gives up a play by leaving his original zone open. If he just picked the guy, he would probably make more plays. Looks like he played skinnier than 226. Not a hard hitter, just shrugs away contact. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Jordan Maggie of the Washington Commanders. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game. A few things to clean up, but I think somebody to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here. Hailing out of Miami, standing 6'1", weighing 231 pounds. We got Francisco Mayagoa. That last name's a bit of a Samoan tongue twister. But anyway, in terms of Francisco's strengths, reads the backfield well, exceptional run defender, handles his business, generates a lot of power with his upper body, has some high upside based on strength profile with room to bulk up to play outside linebacker if he needs to. Looks to be rather versatile, can be used as a chess piece across the middle. Has good technique as a pass rusher for a linebacker, used it in overarm and over moves to get quick pressure. Has trouble converting the sacks at times, but is a pressure machine. In terms of weaknesses, though, lost a decent chunk of his pass rush ability from 2023 going into 2024. He looked like he dropped weight, ended up taking a step down because of it. Started missing more tackles, didn't secure people going down as well as he used to. Never quite had the diagnostic skills of other linebackers, was more of a reaction-based guy, which has a tendency to be more difficult at the next level. Ticks slower on the uptake than the QB, doesn't follow the eyes of the QB to make snap decision reads. Doesn't have the bulk that made him so interesting in the preseason. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Akeem Dent. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Francisco's game. A few things to clean up, but I think somebody to keep an eye on. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Rutgers, standing 6'4", weighing 240 pounds. We got Tyron Powell. So for Tyron's strengths, incredible body type for a linebacker, great length at his disposal. Physical upside earns him plenty of favors with scouts. Wingspan makes him one of the most difficult tacklers in the class to avoid. Fast enough to run down ball carriers from behind. Tools that will get him evaluated as a developmental edge rusher by some teams. Patient in his approach, won't run himself out of place, cuts out for an early role on special teams. In terms of his weaknesses, though, long legs with a high cut frame works against him when he tries to bend or find leverage. Constantly loses balance, gets tripped up when picking his way through traffic. Inefficient with his hands, gets tangled up on blocks, gives up his chest too easily. Doesn't play with the expected strength or impact on the point of the attack that his body would suggest. He lacks the agility of running backs or athletic tight ends in coverage. He also has been listed as a player that could disappoint at the NFL in this draft class because he's an excellent player on the field, but lingering injury questions invite doubts about availability. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Kawan Dane. So overall, a lot of things to like out of Tyron's games, but a health injury, his health history could come back to bite him. Think it would be a gamble taking him for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Alabama, standing 6'4", weighing 236 pounds, we got Q Robinson. So for Q's strengths, incredibly tall and imposing linebacker, good length helps him do proficient pass rushing work, engages tackles at the line well, gets a good solid punch square in the chest. Quick athlete for a pass rusher, incredible first step, crashing the line of scrimmage effectively, has a great strength profile, generates true edge rusher level stock. In terms of weaknesses, though, injuries loom pretty large over his stock, a bit light for a pass rusher, sometimes doesn't anchor well when he engages at the line. Could use a bit better build for edge rushers, add a few more pounds of muscle on his frame because he's a little skinny for what he'll be asked for. And he does have a DUI charge on his record that could bother some teams. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Devin Lloyd of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game, but injury history plus a little running with the law. And the Lions frown down on run-ins with the law. I think there are better players you could go with here. I'm going to say pass on Q. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Virginia Tech, standing 6'2", weighing 242 pounds, we got Antoine Powell-Ryland. So in terms of Antoine's strengths, rockets out of his stance, has high-end first-step quickness to his game, always searches for counters, stays active with his hand usage throughout reps. Ability to plant, redirect, create new angles as a pass rusher is a trump card. Twitch gives him a degree of unpredictability with setting up moves, finds ways to attack. Had an outstanding game against Virginia if you want to watch some tape there. Has shown strong speed, power conservation throughout his game. Has a boundless motor that's always working regardless of the situation. He's also been listed as one of the top sleeper picks in this draft class because even though a 6'2" outside linebacker might scare off several teams, but he's a dynamic pass rusher with some of the best twitch and hand usage of any defender in this draft class. In terms of his weaknesses, though, his length only lets him reach the bottom shelf and will impede him against most NFL offensive tackles. Overall lack of mass on his frame makes run defense duties very difficult for him. too quick to turn his back to blocks rather than working through them. He gets fooled by options, play action too easily. Inability to stack his shin was a major problem against his competition. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Mohamed Kamara of the Miami Dolphins. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Antoine's game. Does a lot of things to like. High motor, has some of the great hands in this class. Has a few issues against the run, but, maybe something to keep an eye on for passing downs. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Oklahoma State, standing 6'2", weighing 235 pounds, we got Colin Oliver. So for Colin's strengths, moves seamlessly between playing off the edge, playing off ball, has the versatility to play different spots. Slippery pass rusher, can duck and dip around contact effectively. Outstanding feel for setting up blockers, can create openings with his hand usage. Able to keep his focus, find the ball when he works through traffic. In terms of weaknesses, though, size and strength profile is extremely concerning if teams want to use him as a pass rusher. He gets mauled regularly by O-linemen, will need to be moved around to find suitable matchups. Straight line speed's lacking, could keep him off the field rather than take coverage snaps. Small wingspan makes wrapping up and finishing tackles a problem for him. College special teams experience was extremely limited, will need to change for him to make the roster. Stiff lower body without much bend, he got injured early last season. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to free agent linebacker Hamilcar Rashed Jr. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Colin's game. It's not that much of an injury history outside of what he suffered last year, but it doesn't seem to affect him too much. So maybe someone still to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Auburn, standing 6'2", weighing 234 pounds, we got Jalen McLeod. So for Jalen's strengths, versatile enough to move around, playing an off-ball role rather than just rushing the passer. Active hand fighter, has a good variety of moves at his disposal to clear blocks. Surprisingly powerful for his size, can knock unprepared tackles and tight ends off the pedestal. High energy pursuit player, keeps his foot on the gas until the whistle blows. In terms of weaknesses, though, notably undersized for a hand-down rusher, will be a pure off-ball linebacker only for most 4-3 teams. Looked less explosive on his Auburn tape than he did when he was at Appalachian State. Tweener build, play style makes him a tough projection for a lot of teams. Not a special teams impact player. Maybe a pigeonholed into a designated pass rusher type of role without roster versatility. Adding weight has made him tighter in the hips and has taken away some of his bend when rushing around the arc. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Quincy, in terms of his pro comparison, he's been compared to Quincy Roach, who plays for the DC Defenders in the UFL. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Jalen's game, a few things to clean up, but maybe someone to keep an eye on for passing downs. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Minnesota, standing 6'2", weighing 231 pounds, we got Cody Lindenberg. So for Cody's strengths, good size for the linebacker position, has the ability to put more weight on him. He plans to shift more to an off-ball role. Effective downhill mover, recognizes how blockers move, able to effectively identify the holes that are being made. Does good goal line protection work. Was the main reason Penn State tight end Tyler Warren was not targeted in the end zone if you don't watch the tape there from that game. He disengages, fights through the hands of his blockers. Active upper body, even had to hit a chop move a few times, implying he may have a larger bag of pass rush moves in his future. He stayed on the field, was a big hustle guy, always helping play cleanup, and he had great arm length measures at the Senior Bowl. In terms of his weaknesses, though, tackling strength's loose, easy to break free from. North Carolina running back Omar Hampton forced several broken tackles on him, in case you want to watch some tape there. And a lot of teams will anticipate similar results with other NFL caliber talent. Skipping the read portion of read and reacting coverage. Seems like he's doing improv out there instead of keying in on how to play his run and going after the ball carrier. Bad balance, body control results in coverage slip-ups, limited anchor when rushing the passer. Not an elegant mover, more of a rumbler. Had some trouble staying healthy. Missed the better part of 2 years with injuries. In terms of his NFL comparisons, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Darius Fleming. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game. Very high motor, does a lot of things right, plays hard. But the injury history could come back to bite him. Think it would be a gamble taking him for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Cal, standing 6'2", weighing 236 pounds. We got Ted Dye Buchanan. So for Ted Dye's strengths, very intelligent player, reads offense as well. Diagnoses the necessary coverage, generally adept at picking up the first read in an offensive play. Has room to carry more weight if necessary, brings a bigger guy mindset to the linebacker position, where he embraces contact, impressive as a pass rusher, combines his heavy hands with a ferocious intensity, should put fear in opposing linemen, finds good lanes to the ball carrier, able to quickly make a move to get past any traffic that gets in his way. Extremely explosive first step, good pounce towards the line of scrimmage. In terms of his weaknesses, though, watching tape, it's clear that he was an FCS level athlete moving up to a P4 team. Doesn't have the range of some of his other counterparts. Reads as stiff when moving side to side. Has a weird heel clicking movement style that looks like if he get moved any faster, he will trip over himself. Guys can get away from him in pass coverage with Chris Brown's solid speed. Doesn't seem like he would challenge most NFL guys in a foot race. Needs to look for the ball more when he's in pass coverage instead of following the receiver around, so he can make plays on the ball instead of securing the tackle. In terms of his NFL comparisons, he's been compared to Tank Carter of the Cleveland Browns. Overall, a lot of things to like out of 10 Eyes game. A few things to clean up, but I think somebody to keep an eye on for sure. And the final outside linebacker, the final player we're going to go over inside this video. We have hailing out of Penn State, standing 6'1", weighing 248 pounds. We have Kobe King. So for Kobe King, he's your prototype intangibles outside linebacker because while he's not the flashiest athlete on the roster, he was one of the keys to consistency of the defense. Quick processor, sees the field well, and knows how to navigate traffic. In terms of strength, decent mover for a near 250-pounder. Carries his weight extremely well for a big linebacker. Good communicator, helps put his teammates in the right spots. Alert pre-snap. Plays low and strong at the point of attack in the run game. One of the steadiest processors this year's class when it comes to defending the run. In terms of his weaknesses, though, squatty frame, typical length, won't be a fit for every team. Average tackle radius will lead to slipping off athletic backs that can get on the edge of his reach. Still learning how to blitz effectively. Hasn't learned to pair technique and strength. Limited special teams contributor. Likely won't be athletic enough to play on kickoff teams. Not laterally quick enough to slip around blocks and win with finesse. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to now retired linebacker Errol Thompson. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Kobe's game. A few things to clean up, but I think somebody to keep an eye on for sure. And that'll wrap it up for this Detroit Lions 2025 NFL Draft Preview. So yeah, quite a few interesting linebacker prospects to keep an eye on. Some very interesting players to keep an eye on. Some pretty good prospects too. A few that I think the Lions could pass and do better without. But I think definitely some players to keep an eye on that could make an impact on the Lions that have more pass rush. You know, who knows? Maybe in the outside linebacker, maybe we can find a player that could complement Hutchinson there. But yeah, that's all for this draft preview. So yeah, we have only one more draft preview left to go for this year. And that final draft preview will be the Day 3 defensive back and safety prospects. That'll be our last draft preview of this draft season. So yeah, only one more draft preview to go, and it'll come out sometime next week. But yeah, anyway, that'll wrap it up here. That's all I gotta say, and I'll see you all whenever I make next. I'm out.